Morning, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome to the online session. So just had Tesla deliveries. They're pretty much on consensus. That's just sort of moving markets as we get going. Okay, let's
expectations.
Just going to turn the squawk off for a second. Now, the major news at the moment is this ADP jobs number that's just been released. It's much weaker than markets are expecting. The ADP jobs is the private jobs data out of the US. It's different to the non-farm payrolls, which is the government, includes government workers. This is private workers. It's not very good necessarily at projecting what's going to happen in terms of the
focus. We do believe it's likely on that production stat
NFP
expected, while the delivery figures only slightly below consensus.
You can have a look here and you can see ADP is in the blue, NFP is in the grey. What it is good at doing is setting the mood.
This, although it might be disappointing relative to consensus.
And the mood is negative. Now, a slowing US labour market is potentially good for stocks because it can mean stocks are lifted on expectations of rising interest rates. But in the current climate, it's just a show of a slowing US economy. So it's negative for stocks at the moment. And that's been the reaction we've been seeing. But we've got to be cautious whether that reaction holds or whether it doesn't hold as we go through the session. Now, if you look at the reaction, we can see here we've had a sharp sell-off. Inventory is positive from the session, right? But delta sharply lower on a breakdown through these buyers here. And we can also see here, this is like a good area for potential sellers to step in against this sort of standard deviation, against this point of control. So you can see here, I've just got a potential entry here, which I'm looking at, which is based on the 15-minute chart, right? You can just see here, right? That is where these buyers, right, got trapped. And so I'm now triggered in. These buyers got trapped by these sellers. So this is a retest of this area now, okay? And what I'm looking for is a potential move back down to this 6242 and see if we can get a little bit further than that. Now it's moving quite quickly higher, but I would anticipate this area to be supportive for downside because this is where we had buyers trapped by these sellers. Now we have hit a value area, so that means you can sort of have a reversal, but I'd expect at least a dip down lower before we get going. So we'll see how that goes. If you look at on the hourly chart, you can see here, this is a key kind of area. You've got that point of control that's being tested. So it's not unreasonable to see if that provides a little bit of resistance. Sellers trapping buyers. I need to be above this area to be seeing these sellers getting truly trapped. Otherwise, it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect a potential move lower on that. Although just note that the delta is positive, right, on the session. On the day, you can see that we have got buyers trapped here, and we have got buyers trapped up there. So with these buyers trapped, that's the obvious entry against that first standard deviation. So I'm going to see if I can get a little move away from that as we head into the open. Just a little bit of upside in Tesla shares, probably supporting the S&P 500 on this, but the weak ADP jobs data should be taking the major headlines with this. If we have a look on the tick chart, we can see the price is trying to break above that standard deviation, but a move above now. It'd be interesting to see if sellers come in, maybe trap these buyers and move lower. Otherwise, that's a nice area of potential support for buyers to lean against. So that's your near-term battle against that kind of region. Let's just see what else we're doing. The data on the calendar is very light. What we're looking for is the deadline for the tariffs. That's looming now on the 9th of July. So Trump has said that he's not going to extend the deadline, but we know that Trump has backtracked quite a few times in the past before. That's why he's earned the moniker Taco. Trump always chickens out. So the reciprocal tariffs are due to strike back in on the 9th of July if there isn't a deal done. So that's between 11 and 50% on a number of different countries across the world. Obviously, a lot of tension building now for China. Jerome Powell didn't rule out interest rate cuts for July yesterday. So it sort of was a little bit supportive for dollar downside, but then we saw the firmer than expected data, which supported dollar upside. And we've been seeing the dollar oscillating between those two narratives. Oil's a little bit up today, no particular driver. The private inventory last night showed a surprise build, so if anything, that should have weakened oil. And now, if you look at the time price opportunity, you can see that we've broken through this value area low, and you can see that buyers look like they were liquidating their longs up at those higher prices. And now we've seen on-balance volume pushing lower, and we have seen some sellers step in after that weak ADP jobs. So my kind of working thesis is I'm looking for further selling unless the data tells me otherwise, right? So I'm expecting a little reaction off this level, at least just into the pre-market. You can see we've got this decent kind of area of potential resistance. And what I'm looking at here is what, yeah, you can see buyers tried to come in. Sellers are coming with a little bit more volume now. Be interesting to see if they can push it down underneath that level on the tick chart. This holding for now, sort of more sellers coming in, but this 15 level kind of quite key. We've got this value area here from yesterday. So wouldn't be surprised if we just move back down into that value area before the open and then see price consolidating. Obviously, if we can close above this level before the open, then that could give us a very short-term upside bias from a retracement back down to that 6237. Just have a little look, maybe just possible to scalp a few points here. I'm gonna have a little look at it on the tick chart. So ideally, I want to see is some of these buyers get trapped here on the tick chart, and that can just give us a little bit more downside. So, okay. Just going to be monitoring this position as we head into the open, and then we'll see how we go. That's a nice area there. Don't like the delta picking up, so I've got to be conscious of that. But I'm happy to look through it for now. That's my doorbell, just going to be back in a second, folks. That's a nice little move lower on the tick chart. That's what we want to see. So we've got 3 minutes, that 15-minute close. And what potentially you're getting is these buyers trapping these sellers. So that's what so that will be a close of the position potentially coming up. Because if I get these sellers trapped, then that becomes support. All right. So I'm going to give it a last chance to break down through here. That's slow. Have had sellers, right? So we're coming up to the 15-minute close, got 30 seconds. It's tricky. So with that, I'm just gonna move that to break even in case you get a little bit of luck and it just goes lower. But essentially, in fact, I'm just gonna exit that. Right, now I've exited that position because if you look on the 15, these buyers you see have trapped those sellers down there. Hey Lawrence, good to see you. Right, okay, so it's just closing off the positions on the other account, making sure they're out. Now, you see here, there's a little bit of more potential upside here because buyers have trapped sellers down at this value area, right? So you could see a bit of upside here. We had a bit of a sell-off because we had sellers here trap those buyers. We looked for a sell up against the standard deviation, got it, got a little bit of a move lower. I wanted to try and run down to 242 before the open and see if I could get lower. But those buyers, trapping those sellers here just means that this could be support now. So just leave it and we'll reset.